I don't care what your addictive patterns were, whether they were to alcohol, which you mentioned, or to whatever else. Know what was wrong with it, or what was right about it. What did it give you in the short term that you wanted? So what did it give you?
Oh, well, with alcohol, it was like a sense of belonging and relief, and it was a way to turn my brain off.
Okay.
And to escape.
Okay. When do people need to escape?
When they're stressed.
When they're suffering.
Yeah.
Okay. So the addiction wasn't a disease that you had. It wasn't your primary problem. It was an attempt to solve the problem of emotional pain and isolation. So my mantra on addiction is, don't ask why the addiction, ask why the pain. And if you understand the pain, look at the person's life rather than just their genes. Okay? And so both people who are addicted and people with ADHD often share these genes for sensitivity, which means they suffer more when circumstances aren't right. And so they're both, obviously those conditions will go together. And furthermore, to go back to dopamine, the shopping addict, the gambling addict, the pornography addict,
the social media addict,
and I have had my behavior addiction,
the gaming addiction addict, the busyness.
You know what they're after? They're after a hit of dopamine in the brain, which they get through seeking that behavior.
And then you feel bad, though, that you did it.
Well, yeah, and I had my behavior addictions, but what I'm saying is it's all based partly on the dopamine circuitry. And
which didn't develop
the way it should have. So
because of your childhood.
Exactly. So now you have to get your dopamine hit through pornography. And if you do brain scans on pornography addicts, they get multiple spikes of dopamine hits in their brain when they're...
Just like a drug addict.
Yeah, this is just pure brain science. And the opiate system, it's called endorphins. Endorphin means endogenous, internal, morphine-like substance. So we have an opiate system in our bodies, which affects many functions in our body from the gut to the immune system. But what do they do in the brain? If we understand opiate addiction, we have to understand what do endorphins do in the human trajectory. First of all, they provide pain relief, both physical and emotional pain relief. Our internal endorphins do that. We have to have pain in life because without pain, we don't survive because we can hurt ourselves, but we also have pain relief. So endorphins relieve pain, but not just physical pain, also emotional pain. Because the part of the brain where people experience physical pain, the suffering of physical pain, it's also where they experience the suffering of emotional pain. So the endorphins, the opiates, work there. That's their first role. The second role, along with dopamine, is to give you a sense of pleasure, elation, and joy. But that's rather important in human life because human life is difficult. So we have to have some expectation of pleasure, joy, relief. That's what the opiates do. That's the second thing they do. But the third thing they do, they facilitate a little thing called love. Endorphins help to feel us connected to other people. And particularly, they help feel parents connected to their kids, without which the child doesn't survive. And if you take little animals and you knock out their opiate receptors, they will not call for their mothers on separation. What would that do to them? It would kill them in the wild. So that's how important the opiates are. Now, who are these people that develop opiate addictions? People whose lives have undermined their opiate circuitry. And I had a sex trade worker in the downtown east side of Vancouver. I asked her, what did the heroin do for you? She said, the first time I did heroin, it felt like a warm, soft hug. So just like the alcohol, which gave you a more sense of belonging, it gave her a sense of being loved, a sense of warmth. That's why people get addicted, is because they suffer that early pain that they're trying to escape from, and because their brain circuitry was affected by adverse conditions so that these circuits didn't develop optimally. Now they have to substitute. So that's the shinny on addiction. It's not an inherited disease. It's a response to the environment, and it's not genetic, contrary to what 99% of physicians believe. Now, what do we do with this information?
Dr. Gabor Maté emphasizes that addictions offer temporary relief and a sense of belonging, serving as coping mechanisms for deeper emotional issues. He explains that endorphins and opiates in the brain alleviate both physical and emotional pain and foster feelings of pleasure and connection. To prevent reliance on substances, he advocates for creating supportive environments that promote healthy emotional development in children.
If you are parents of a child who's been diagnosed with, say, ADHD, then make a considered decision about whether you want a kid medicated or not. Medications can sometimes help, sometimes they cause side effects. No child should be forced to be on medication, because no child at any age should get the message that they're only acceptable to the adults when their brain is sedated. You don't want to give that message to any child. But they can help sometimes to mitigate symptoms. They do nothing for brain development in the long term. So then the question is, can we create in this family better conditions for that child's brain to develop in more optimal ways? And yes, we can. And that has a lot to do with the emotional atmosphere in the family and the degree of understanding and connection. Not love, because that's already there, but the actual understanding and connection between the parents and the child. And I mean, that book's been out 25 years, and I've been told by so often that it totally changed the family just to read that book, and it totally changed their children. When it comes to treating addiction, then it's very complex, but the person again needs to understand there's nothing wrong with them. They weren't born with any kind of disease. That addiction is a perfectly normal response to abnormal circumstances. I mean, look at all the veterans who are traumatized and they become alcoholics or opiate addicts. Well, and I think it's not an individual process. It should be, for the most part, should be, you need the social help. That's what the 12-step groups are. I have my critiques of them, but the 12 steps themselves, I think, are wonderful. And the group process is wonderful, where people can share themselves and be heard compassionately and not be shamed. They can declare their so-called dysfunctions and be accepted, So I think it's not just an individual process, but I think what's missing from the 12-step groups, unfortunately, is awareness of trauma, which is interesting because Bill W., the original funder, was an abandoned child, highly traumatized. And for some reason, trauma hasn't entered the conversation of the 12-step movement as much as I'd like to see it done. But again, healing should not be just seen as an individual process. It should be seen as a social process. And people that deal with addictions, they need to understand trauma. I have to think here. I think what happens is when women get older, they tend to get a bit less repressed. And the tendencies that are in them that they've tried to kind of control in order to be acceptable and to fit in, it becomes intolerable for them. Particularly perimenopausally, it becomes a real chore for women to continue to fit the stereotype in which they were molded. So I think whatever's in them is more likely to show up. And I would say to them, what I say to anybody, get curious about what's being manifested in this condition. So I'd say two things. One is, let's look at the need that is serving in your life.
What is the need it is serving in your life?
Yeah. So
well, doom scrolling for me, the need is to tune out.
No, that's not the need. What is the need for tuning out serving in your life?
Oh boy.
Scrolling out is
I have no joy, play, or relaxation.
Okay, so you don't know how to, you're not comfortable with yourself. You need to, you can't just be. You have to be doing, and your attention has to be external.
Yeah.
Now that goes back to early childhood. It means that you weren't comfortable, and you developed that comfort with the self. You developed that sense of your own goodness and validity. And so that when you're alone and you're not doing something, there's distress, and your mind is going all over the place.
Yeah.
So that's the need that it's serving. So then you say, well, it's meeting this need to escape from myself. How can I learn to be with myself? So what techniques, what could I do? And there's ways to do that. I mean, I have many suggestions in my books, but essentially it's recognizing the need that's being met, not invalidating the need, validating the need, but recognizing that the behavior itself only temporarily soothes it, but it doesn't meet the need. There's nothing wrong with saying don't drink. I mean, all that. It's only that it doesn't deal with the fundamental need. So let's recognize the need. Those needs are valid. Your need for social contact or not being isolated. And in your book, when you experience a certain degree of social isolation, which you interpreted as rejection, and your husband points out, you're not being rejected, they're just, something else. But your childhood programming tells you that it's rejected.
It's true.
So...
does everything come back to our childhood?
Yes. Pretty much. That's when we're shaped. Look, have you ever had a puppy dog?
Yes. 2.
Okay, well, tell me about them. I mean, how you treat that puppy, will that not define to a significant degree what kind of creature they're going to be?
It's true.
Yeah, well, human beings are infinitely more complex than puppy dogs. And it's totally true. So what I'm saying is recognize the need, validate the need, but then ask the question, okay, how can I meet that need in ways that are not harmful?